This is Primetime, an independent thinking stream from the great studios, Love 97, Thompson Boulevard. Boy, what it is. Our bonus sponsor tonight, the City of Hope, the former Cancer Society of America. That's our bonus sponsor. Nagico, that's the parent company of Global. Nagico Insurance is next to the Salvation Army, Marquis Street. That's the prettiest green and white building. As soon as you start to climb the hill, right near to the next door to the Salvation Army. It's the fastest growing insurance company in the country. Global Insurance is the underwriter of Nagico. They are situated Sandy Port, Tina and crew. Listen, all your marine, airplanes, train, cars, boat, industrial, residential. Listen, whatever business, physical, mental, whatever you need. And insurance, give Tina and the crew a call on Sandy Port, 601-0006, 601-0006. Rasta Greens and things on Nassau Street. If you want to eat something healthy this weekend, that's it. Try a veggie, a Rasta plate, a veggie plate with some salmon or some fish, or then try a natural juice. That's Rasta Greens and things on Nassau Street. Right before you reach the bamboo shop, it'll be on your left, opposite side. You'll see the Lion of Judah on the door. Rasta Greens and things. Shorty's Bread Shop on East Street. The bread from the pond to your hand. The bread that melts in your mouth. There's no bread that a clear custom or clear immigration directly from the pond or the oven to your hand. Shorty's Bread Shop. Dr. P's Barber Shop. Dr. P's Barber Shop on Robinson Road. Right before you reach, right after you pass Superwash. Dr. P's Barber Shop for the perfect cut. Listen, I guarantee you sit in the chair and get a perfect cut, you'll fall asleep. He's that good. Dr. P's Barber Shop. But good evening, we're going to talk about some union talk tonight. I have a beautiful lady in the studio who's Madam President. When I was in the studio some months ago, I was trying to promote them to help them with their promotion in terms of running against Mr. Kingsley Ferguson in reference to the BPSU. But they has gone and did some great things since then. I guarantee you I ain't talking about it. But they have moved mountain. I deem her as Kamal in the Bahamas. Kamal Harris in the Bahamas. We have our own Kamal Harris in the Bahamas in terms of the union. We have a new, brand new union, and I encourage all other unions, if you want true representation based on the plan, based on the energy and the foresights and the forward thinking that this new union is doing, listen, give this lady a call. If you scared and you don't want to move, you don't invest all your money, all the mayors in the next union, them other union, listen, just have a chat with her. Sit down and chat with her. And I guarantee you, we have the decision for you to make. Latonya Symonette is in studio with us tonight. We want to talk about the new union that's taken the public service by storm. I told me the BPSU now is ranging maybe about between 9 and 1,200 members left. And them others are only holding on. But I believe, in my humble opinion, that they believe they stuck. They have been here so long. And if they feel like if they leave, they will lose the little they invested. But listen, this is the same BPS union when I was on my show some years ago, when I talked about them. They're the same who I called off the bounce checks. One was in May for $60 that bounced from the BPSU. And one was in August. I don't know if you remember, that the check bounced for $60. The BPSU, that's on Wilf Road. I'm telling you, bounce checks for $60. So how could you sit there, put your money there every week and believe something to change? Listen, you all better join this band, yeah? Join these group of Bahamians who prepared to make a change and stand up for the Bahamians in this country. The BPSAHPU executives. And I want you to get that. The BPSAHPU. The new union. And Madam President's in the studio with me tonight. And listen, I can sit back and let her talk. I can let her explain to you the things and the plans that they have for the new union. And they just come from Freeport. She came from the airport straight here to be on the show. And they was in Freeport, signed up new members. And listen, hoots out to her and her crew. I wish them the best luck. I'm gonna give majority of the time tonight she'll be doing plenty of talking because she have a plan and she's prepared. She know all the problems that people face in this country. You know, you imagine. You imagine you'll be 40 years paying to the Bahamas Public Service Union on Wolf Road, across from John Shea. And when you retire, they give you what, $30 or $60 a month or $80 a month, $120. You can't survive. You imagine almost $10 a week, $40 a month. You pay, and you gotta wait to see a doctor. You gotta wait till your time. And listen, all that investment. Listen, I got a new president in the studio with me this evening. I'm gonna begin open up the floor and allow Miss, I'm gonna pronounce it right, Latonya Symonette. I can't say shot this Symonette, but it's Latonya Symonette. Good evening, how you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Johnson. It is indeed a pleasure to be on your show. Good evening, Bahamas. Good evening, all of the members of the Bahamas Public Sector and Health Professionals Union, that we are currently the union of choice. Good evening to those who we will represent shortly. Good evening, everyone.
Listen, I ain't get this from you, but based on what I'm hearing, that they are flocking to you in droves, and if they continue in the manner and the fashion that it's happening, one or two of these unions have to close shop. Is that true?
What I will say is, when it's a process in which you go through in terms to be a registered union. The day in which we became registered, we secured about 60 to 70% of the airport authority staff. They were just waiting for us to announce that we were registered. We have persons from PHA, that's a number of 3,000. We have persons from BAIC. We have the Bahamas Gaming Board. We have Airport Authority and NAD. We have agriculture. We have other quasi and public servants chasing after us. The work is so much to the point where I wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock I'm on the phone with members. Day before yesterday I was on the phone from 6 o'clock until 6 o'clock the next day. The calls do not stop, the phone do not stop ringing. There's so much issues. When I was on the campaign trail with the power team, many asked why I didn't go for president. Mr. John Pinder, one that I would have sat at his feet in terms of, I was chief shop steward for 10 years with his union. I've been in BPSU for 18 years. And he was like, Latonya, why didn't you go for presidency? And I believe this. I believe that in order for you to be a true leader, I'm not talking about a leader who's caught up on themselves and egotistical and arrogant. I'm talking about a leader who truly wants to serve. And so before you can be a proficient, before you can be an extraordinarily great leader, there are some things that you must learn, and you learn them through following. And so I decided to take the position as vice president. And in taking the position as vice president, throughout the campaign trail, what became common was anywhere that I went with my then president, he was told, wherever you go, make sure take Ms. Symonette. His people from Freeport, Grand Bahama, and he would admit this because he said this openly. If you're coming to Freeport, don't come unless you come in with Latonya Symonette. And so it became where people want to see leaders who are serious, leaders who are compassionate, leaders who are honest, leaders who can relate to them. Because there's no sense you having a leader who haven't been down a path that you've been down, because he can't relate, he becomes unrelatable. And so what I bring is someone who is relatable. What I bring is, I am every member. And when I say I'm every member, meaning that I understand what a union represents. I understand what a union's supposed to be. And so what I did was, when I recognized the deficiencies in my with my employer, when I recognized the deficiencies within the union, I decided to go to school. I take up labor relations. I did human resource management. I did finance. I did these areas because I know in order for me to sit to any table, in order for me to negotiate or speak up on anyone's behalf, at least in these areas, I needed to know and a bit of law, because you have to know how to interpret the law. And so once I would have mastered these areas, then I said, you know what, it's time for me to follow. And that's why I joined the power team. After following, we went into elections last year, BPSU elections, and
But you all didn't lose.
what ended up happening was, to be quite honest with you, Freeport Grand Bahama showed me so much love in terms of the numbers, because my numbers was higher than my president and my former president, Mr. John Pinder. So that said to me, that signaled to me that the people actually want you, Latonya. There is something that you indeed have to offer. When we went to the polls, there were a lot of irregularities as it relates to the Industrial Relations Act, how union elections supposed to be carried out. We put in a petition to the Labor Department, and I must say hats off to the Labor Department, because I've seen so much corrupt practices and I've seen so much deficiencies in government systems that this Labor Department, when I sat with them, gave evidence. Everyone on our team gave evidence, because one of the things with giving evidence, you can't come with hefty, you have to come with factual information. And so we presented factual information. And from the information and the investigation that they carried out, the elections were in fact overturned. However, Mr. Ferguson was able to seek for the minister to overturn it. And I guess based on whatever information or evidence that was there, she was able to give the elections to him. When the elections was given to Kimsey Ferguson, I could recall when I got the news, because one thing that I am above anything else, Marlon, is I'm a child of God. And what makes me that is the various things that I would have endured in my employ. I've enjoyed so much in my employ that I suffer from PTSD, and so that's post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's from the barbaric and the abusive things that I would have endured in the workplace. And I don't say that for no one to take pity on me. I say that to say these things is what prepared me. It's preparation. And so I went through those things because it enables me to lead. How can I take someone somewhere? How can I tell someone or tell management this is the right way to do something, in terms of, because sometimes management can be so harsh, but because I was trained in human resources management, I can be able to be the mediator in between and tell them, you can do it this way, try it this way. Sometimes it's met with so much hostility, because most of the times what I've noticed in the workplace, you have workers, based on what the system has done to them, they're angry. And so here is an angry worker that came to work. And this angry worker, the bill's overdue, the pay isn't enough. She's an abusive, or he's an abusive relationship, the children, the this, the that. And here comes this employee to work. And here's the manager. The manager's being rude and hostile, and the worker have an outburst. One thing that God does, and even the court system, what it does, it look at the state of mind. It look at what led up to this. And so what we would see in the workplace is a lot of managers aren't trained, what I've seen, because I've been through public service and quasi-government. They're not trained in management. What we have in place that I've recognized, and the reason why I can speak to this, Marlon, is nothing like experience. I'm not speaking based on hearsay, or I'm not speaking because I feel something. I'm speaking on something that I would have studied. I'm speaking on something that I would have experienced. So what I've noticed is this. There is a primitive vitriol system. And when I say primitive and vitriol, let me explain what that means. Primitive means old, outdated. Vitriol means vile. It means like aggressive. It means abusive. And so based on the era, when we look at the various generations in terms of your baby boomers was accustomed to harsh treatment, working long hours, putting up with so much. That's what they were used to. And so because of that, they as managers now take on a spirit, whereas if we've been through it, now y'all millennials coming up, y'all can go through it too. And so there is a spirit, whereas the management style is a primitive vitriol system. I study it. So when I went to school, I start to look at the various types of management skills and styles. And so you would have to pick a style based on the type of workload, the type of people you're managing, and they don't utilize that. This virtual system, what this does actually is, this is how it works. It will watch you. And if you're barbaric towards your colleagues, you'll be someone that they'll be looking at. Not necessarily that you have any training or you're good at what you do. They want to pass this on to you so you keep this system going on. So say like a person like myself who would have went to school, who have the experience, and who want to bring change to that system, they're going to fight me because they want that system to continue on.
Yeah,
but what you are seeing, what you are seeing today is millennials like myself and Generation Z. Generation Z, if you look at them, they don't tolerate the nonsense that baby boomers would tolerate, and us millennials will tolerate a bit. But if you look at in Africa, Kenya the other day, you would have seen those Gen Zs, they was walking into the bullets. They're not afraid. So the things that used to work back then, where you mentally and physically and abuse us, they're not gonna put up with that. And so you need a management system now. Whereas if you're going through something on the job, I have to be the calm one. As a manager, I am not. People think power is to abuse people. Power is for the empowerment. You use that power to empower and to help others. But we've gotten it wrong over the years, thinking that these abusive tactics work. When you then abuse your workers, how do you expect for these people to function and perform now? How? It doesn't work that way. And so by me looking at these things and getting trained in various areas, I saw it no more than fitting for me to actually be able to take on this task as president. Not just president because I like the title, president because I have something to offer. And back to what I was saying to you as it relates to when the power team lost. And I have to call it a loss because when something isn't given to you, it's a loss. We fought for something and it was taken away from us. And I laid in my bed and I felt hopeless because I'm a part of BPSU, 18 years. I would call the president Mr. Ferguson. I've been calling Mr. Ferguson for 5 years, I kid you not, 5 years. And I would not get a response from him. I pay my union dues every month. Every month my union dues go towards his salary, but I don't hear back from this president. If something happened to me right now, I cannot depend on Kingsley Ferguson. I have to go to the Congress and I have to go to Almighty God, and I'm paying union dues. And so when I start to look at the system and I start to see what it is, you know, sometimes we talk, we banter among ourselves. This is wrong, that is wrong. I decided to get in the ring. When that night when I got the news, I was like, Lord, what to do? I don't know what to do. Start a union. I contacted my president. Actually, we had a group call with all of the executives of the power team. And I asked Mr. Burrows, Alexander Burrows, what are we going to do? He said he's going to wait another 3 years to go against Kingsley Ferguson. And I said to him, because it irritated me, it angered me. People are out there calling us every day. We were on the campaign trail and we watched people cry. We listened to the stories, some of the stories. It traumatized me. I couldn't believe that people were being treated the way that they were being treated. And so you mean to tell me that what you hear, what you saw wasn't conviction for you to say, you know what, we're going to start a new union. So I said to him, so you're going to wait 3 more years to run against Kingsley Ferguson? I said, you know what? We're going to start a new union. He said, that's a lot of work and money where you can get it from. I said, the Lord will provide. I kid you not. Our Mr. Richie right here, he's our executive vice president. He said, Ms. Symonette, let me tell you what I'm going to do. He said, because the people love you. And he said, you're passionate about this. And he said, you really into this union. You have a heart for the people. He said, I will take your vice president and I'll give you my executive vice president. I'll push you into president. The whole team agreed. Mr. Harrison Wilson, he's our secretary general. He was almost a Jonathan. You know the story with David and Jonathan? He was a Jonathan to Alex. And so because of his conviction as well, he said, I gotta go with Mr. Symonette because our mandate and our purpose, our being for being together as a team, is for the workers, the laborers of this country. And when we deviate from that and start thinking about self and start thinking about all these different things, it makes no sense. That week, they said, well, Latonya, you have to make a constitution. I said, Lord, I don't put a constitution, I don't know what that is. I say, oh, BPS, you have booklet, what they have? They say, yeah, that. I say, Lord, I know you take me to school, I write theses, so I think I could write a constitution. I went to an induction, the NCTUB, with Mr. Dwayne Woods, and they were inducting 2 new unions. And in that room, that was the first time in 18 years of being a part of a union, I experienced true union love, solidarity, and support in that room. What do you need, Ms. Symonette? This one lend this one give this, do it this way, do it that way. I sat down and I wrote the Constitution. I wrote the Constitution in 5 days. I submitted it to the Labor Department. The Labor Department had 2 corrections back and forth to edit, take out this, put this in. We had a Constitution. We were registered. Everything that they said that is going to be hard, the money the Lord provided. Everything that, it's something when you're called to lead. I'm talking about people who are, the Bible says, few are called. I mean, many are called, but few are chosen. When you are chosen by Almighty God, I can say this unequivocally. It isn't an easy task. There are some things that you go through, and you have to go through it, because how can I relate to you? How can I help you if I haven't been in the situation that you've been in? And so I went through so much to get to this point, so much, to the point where I couldn't understand, God, why are you taking me through this? What is it? Was it the conception when my mother and father conceived me, that something they did wrong? I repent for their sins and all these things. God says, not that. It's preparation. I cannot send you to lead if you can't feel for the people. And that is what is wrong in this country today. We have a lot of people that man chose them to be leaders, but God didn't call them. You know how you could tell? They have no heart for the people. They have no love for the people. They are not honest. They're not transparent. They're corrupt. Me, with this union, all of the hard work that goes into it, and I'm collecting big union dues, I don't take a salary, nor do my team. You know why? The union members in this country have been ill-treated, maltreated, abused for years. We started out where we reached out to the airport authority first. Why? When we looked at the numbers in terms of votes, we got a lot of votes there. We had a big support there. And so I knew going in, you had some people that was mistreated. So they had trust issues. And so I said, Lord, allow me to win the heart of these people. I went, I said, you know what? I'm gonna cook a bunch of food. I can get a caterer. I can order the best of the food. I can get some games. I can get some money, and I can give it away to the people and feed the people and show them. And then when I set up the room, I set up the room in a way where it was a circle. I don't want no one to feel like I'm better than them or I higher. Let's collaborate. Let's talk. And so you got to be able to get people to open up. I saw a little glimmer in their eyes, a little glimmer. And I said to myself, I say, all hope is not lost. By the end of the meet and greet and allowing them to express what they've been feeling and what's been happening, I saw their pupil begin to open. Hope start to come back. You mean to tell me you can help us? Yes, I can. And all you have to do as a leader is work, be committed, be dedicated. If you tell people you're going to do something, do it. And this is how you build the confidence of the people. Mm-hmm. After that meeting, there was a frenzy at the airport. Who's this new union? We went up against the union for NIB and I think General Workers Union. And I think it was another big union, a big name union. And
So we only thought right there. A member is able to jump union.
What happens is, in the Industrial Relations Act, under section 47A, that's the amended portion of the act, it states that an employee can say to the employer they prefer to pay union dues into this particular union.
Right.
There's no restriction on that. However, what the Industrial Relations Act does, just recently we went to a symposium that the Minister of Labor, the Honorable Pierre Glover, held a symposium for us to amend the various labor laws. The amendment was to the Industrial Relations Act, the Employment Act, the general orders. We know that these acts and regulations and policies have been in place from the 70s.
Yeah.
And so these
The
laws
whole
are
structure is built from that.
it's outdated. So
General orders is outdated.
it's outdated to the point whereas they have the word telegram. So you know if telegram is in there, you know that it's an
Yeah.
old document.
As you said
and
before.
so what she said, what the mandate was, is for us to be able, because we work with these people, we represent these people, we are laborers in this country. Bring to me what you would want changed and amended in the act. And so one of the areas, there were a lot of areas that I focused on, but the area in which I focused on was, there's a process with 47A, where after you had already gone through the long drawn out process to become a registered union, there's still hindrance by the employer. What I've noticed is when you don't have a strong union, or you have a union that is anti-union, and when I say anti-union, meaning that we know from whence the trade movement in terms of union came from. We know back in, I think it was in the 50s, 60s, 70s, around that time with the Burma Road Ride, we know that when the American government and the Bahamas government collaborate to build an airport, and they say that they was paying, I think it was 8 shillings or 18 shillings, it was something to the tune, and all the workers were supposed to receive this amount. But the Bahamas government at the time said that was too much for the Bahamian people, and we see that spirit echoing even to this day, whereas it is a belief that once we are black or once we are colored people, there is something ingrained, and I must say there is something that the slave masters would have done to the tune, whereas we are not enslaved by whites today. You and I, we can't relate to cotton picking, we never did that.
No.
But there is a spirit among us where the blacks among us who lead today, they have become the modern day slave masters.
Yeah.
There is a system in place.
They changed the color.
And the system in place is this. The other day my mind is always going. I am just someone who's just filled of ideas and endless possibilities and things that can happen for my country and things that I want to see happen for the Bahamian people. And I was sitting down and I was saying to myself, and I'm going off topic a bit, but I said to myself, I noticed today the freedom fighters of yesterday, their offspring who benefited today from what their mother and father did back then.
They continuing.
They are the ones today
Continuing.
who is putting things in place to silence the freedom fighters of today. Today, me and you, who couldn't work in banks, me and you, who didn't have a 40-week hour, who didn't have vacation from the Burma Road riot, fought for these things. The men and women from back then, 3 persons died. Hundreds of Bahamians were incarcerated. And so they had the baton and they did something, they sacrificed for us today. And so to see that today, those men and women that spoke up, their children today are the ones that are telling the freedom fighters today, be quiet, put in the gag order, shut up, don't make no noise. How? If we are silent, how then the next generation to come, what are we putting in place? What are we fighting today that What tree are we planting today with seed that tomorrow generation have shade for? It is the fighters today, yesterday, that we have enjoyment today. So if you stopping us from fighting today, what will their children, our children have for tomorrow? And we have to come away from why we doing what we doing. If it's money, you're doing it for the wrong reason. You have to have a intrinsic reward, meaning that leaving a legacy, leaving an imprint to know that your fellow Bahamian, your country is viable, your country is sustainable, your country is able to benefit from the work that you put in place. That even when you go on, take a second, remember Marlon?
I gotta take a break. I gotta take a break before you go to join the union tonight. 326-8255, 326-8255, 322-5477, 322-5477. Gonna take our first commercial break. In studio with me, Mistress Latonya Symonette, Madam President of the Bahamas Public Service Airline.
The Bahamas Public Sector and Health Professionals Union.
Health Professionals. I got the acronyms good, but I get the word. Give me that. Bahamas Public Sector and Health Professionals Union. She's in studio with me tonight. And listen, I let her do all the talking because listen, she have plenty of information. And once you understand what's happening, it's a change coming. And the change that's coming is all around the world. Things happening for the better, and those who ain't scared. But I been standing up. I've been on the radio from 2010, and I experienced the same type, not true personal, because I work for myself. The last time I go on my job and get paid was December 1999. I get my last check, and January 1st I quit. I go on my own from then, January 1st, 2000. And this now is 2024, so that's some 24 years ago. I ain't collect a salary, so I can't really relate right now too much about the employee stats and problems, because I've been employed for 24 years. I've been an employer, and I experienced two different things. Like, I've been on the radio now for 2010. When I need to come one day a week, Thursday, 7:30. The internet will go down 7:29, and the internet will come back up 9:01 when I come off 9 o'clock. So I experienced my share. But I'm gonna take my first commercial break. When I come back, Latonya Symonette is in the chair tonight, live on Primetime after the break.
Cancer. It's a word no one wants to hear. But at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we hear it every day. It's a word we've dedicated our lives to overcoming by changing the way patients are treated. And now we're part of City of Hope, which is one of the nation's top 10 cancer hospitals. Together, we'll combine leading-edge clinical research with precision cancer treatment, so we can be there when you need us most. So when you hear the word cancer, there's another word that should come to mind. Hope. Call now.
You've dreamt it. You've worked hard for it. And now you've got it. You deserve to enjoy the fruits of your labor and know that you're covered in case of a disaster, like an unexpected fire or a vehicular collision. At Magic Insurances, we focus on settling your claims quickly and fairly so you can get back to enjoying your life. Magic Insurances. Fast, fair, and always there.
Independent Thinker, my name is Marlon Owen Johnson, aka Independent Thinker, in the chair tonight. Latonya Symonette, she's in the chair of the Madam President from the BPSAHPU. That's the Bahamas Public Sector and Health Professionals Union. She's in the chair. And listen, I already joined the union. I always fight the acronym of union because I mean I see some, I listen to some of my family members and friends and in places where I be, and how they places I don't know if they speak all information. They're never part of the union, but when you see some of the things that they experience as when they get old and because I hang around many elderly men, and it's like, why you pay all the money all them years and the union writing bounce check? The union writing a check would bounce over $60, right? I can tell you that the union have to have a management problem, a financial problem. I mean, when sense a union that holding people, collecting people pension money, because a portion of the money is supposed to go towards a pension, a portion of the money go to the union that represent the operations of the union. And if they're writing a check for $60 and it bounce it, the government should, in my humble opinion, the government should step in and ask some type of audit to be done or pass some law where Bahamians' pension money should be protected. And I's a fella, if you listen to me over the years, you'll know I'm the kind of fella who tell you, listen, I don't argue with you, I know what I'm saying, because I'll bring up some examples for you. On the city market, I try my best to fight for them and even don't know them. And I think they lose their pension. I think their pension gone. I don't think they, I see, man, based on the things what's happening over the years, the place to Hard Rock Cafe, and I mean, plenty of things happen in this country. And the Bahamians, the ordinary citizens who go to the poll to vote, take the brunt of the problem and the suffering and the mistreatment. And so she's right. I ain't part of no union. I was one who always thought I'd get into court. That's why I went to law school and got a law degree. And I said, I get into court and I can challenge the union from taking out $10 or $12 a week of my pay. But I never was a part of the union, so I never had an opportunity to do that. And I can't go to the court and tell the court I challenge in the union, I ain't a part of that. So I always keep it in my mind. But I started to understand when I had Alexander Burrows along with Latonya Symonette and Mr. Wilson, and I had them on my show, and then I started to appreciate, right, and understand what the union is all about. And based on what I'm hearing tonight, listen, don't care which union you're a part of. Listen, if you ain't want to move right now, just have a conversation with the BPSAHPU. Just talk with them. Just get to understand and see what all their plans are for the members of the union. You know what she said? Not one, including her, he ain't collecting $1. I'll tell you, rumors being around that some of the other presidents are getting some $10,000 a month when the union is writing a bounce check. So it clearly tells you that if they still getting their $10,000 a month, the union writing a bounce check, something got to be wrong. It can't be about the money. It got to be about civility, humility, service. Too much Bahamians in this country are suffering, man. And they suffer mostly by the hands of foreigners who are given the red carpet to come in this country with the empty briefcase and newspaper. And they end up living with millions of dollars over and repeatedly. And the people who suffer and leave holding the bag is the ordinary workers who go to the polls and vote for successive governments in this country. Listen to me. I hear you, and some things you were saying, I thought about if I was in the union business, you all had my name signed tonight. You'll have to find one extra people and sign me up. Because ain't that like when you working and you supporting and you have a belief in the system, and the system is what you, especially when you get old, that system is what you need to depend on and lean on. And when Mr. Alexander Burrows was here, I said to him, now you all need to look, I don't know about the union too much, but you all need to look into investments. You all need to look into a proper health insurance. Don't let the union be in charge of health insurance. Let an insurance company that have expertise and selling insurance for 100 years And I asked him, yeah, even asked him if Colonial Penn and some other insurance companies, Blue Cross, and some other American company like Atlantic Insurance. I asked him, I say, can you all let them manage you all, or can you all join the plan with their plan or something, just so that Bahamians are able to get the best possible care in their years, or even when they're young, if they get injured or sick, with the time when they need really. And he said that's one of the main things they working on. He said that they were bigger than that, and that in fruition to happen. Because plenty of people suffer, man, and I hate to know that you contribute to a system, and when you need it, it ain't able to help you. I mean, that's a cardinal sin.
Can I share something that?
Go ahead, you're live.
In terms of members who would have been a part of BPSU for over 10 years or more, persons who are in other unions, we have something in place where BPSU, the pension plan is probably what, $60 if that. People who would have contributed to the union for years get probably $1,000 if that.
A what?
One time payment.
A one-time payment.
So what?
Hold on now. I know. Say I need you to stay it slow, because some people listen to me. Majority of persons who listen to me are senior people, elderly people, right, and professional people. When you say they get $1,000 one-time payment,
So let me
for what?
explain what that is. Let's just say someone retired
right?
and they haven't given 30 years to BPSU, but they go home. BPSU claim that they will give the person $1,000 one time, and that's it, right?
Hold on now, and that's hold on. So the $1,000 is
One
a
time.
gift, like that's a
It's
gift.
almost like a pension, something that they receive. Now, persons who would have done 30 years, they would get that $60.
But $60, you can't live on $60.
My point. So for me, with our union, what I have put in place, my executive and I, is we will pay those people the $1,000 to come over if you have a certain amount of years left that we can represent you. And so being able to buy them out, because why stay stuck in something that you're not receiving anything? Why continuously pay annually $300? You might as well just take your purse, put the $300 in your car, drive with the windows down, and let it fly out the window, because nothing from nothing is nothing. And so you're paying for nothing. I'm not union busting. Okay, I'm not doing that.
You're being honest.
If and see, we live in a country where mediocrity and covering things and not being honest, that is at the forefront. When you be honest, you are chastised for honesty. The Bible says, speak the truth and the truth will set you free. But we live in a deceptive world, whereas people will be doing wrong, and the minute you highlight it so we could correct it and fix it, because when you're doing something incorrect, it has an effect on other people as well, too, not just you, on other people as well. And so even in our country, when something is done wrong in our system, in our country, we the Bahamian people are going to pay back for it. But when you silence us and want us to be quiet, when we work in work environments and the system is to quiet us, when it's time for us to speak up and speak up on issues, we can't speak up because you have programmers. If you say something, you're going to be victimized. And so we need to come out of that mindset. So with BPSU, we will pay persons in any union that has at least 10 more years left. Because you can't.
But not only that, my suggestion to you with that is this. If you put a plan in place, say if a person 20 years, they'd only be entitled to what, 600? They'd be entitled to 600 if they go on pension, right? So then what you all do is put a plan in place. You got 30 years, you get 1,000. You get 29, you get 900. You put a payment in place, and you'll be able to get every single person from the union.
Like what you was talking about with Colonial Penn, we have been in talks with big international insurance companies. We trying to get the best rate, the best coverage, because something that I recognize is a lot of these public servants that we go to, some of them, yeah, the government do provide NHI, it does, but people want coverage in the event that they have to have a surgery or something happen.
Right.
They want to be able to have the best in terms of healthcare.
Right, so that they have a chance to live.
Right, and so that's something that we're looking into. Before I say anything, I want to introduce, I didn't introduce, I am nothing without my team.
No, you go ahead.
And
You go
so
ahead.
my team consists of my executive vice president, who hails from the airport authority, is Mr. Kurt Ritchie. Mr. Kurt Ritchie has been very instrumental with this union. He's our kingman when it comes to membership. He has a gift with bringing in hundreds and hundreds of people to this union. We have Mr. Gerald Colbrook, who is our vice president. He's also from the airport authority. He's a military background, served in the Army in the United States, and he's someone that is the voice in terms of being able to speak up on issues that the union face. We have Mrs. Sarah Bethel Cooper. She is our vice president for the Family Island. You know, a lot of times the Family Islands are neglected. And so what we did in terms of building up our momentum, in terms of coming into being registered, before we became registered, we hit all the Family Islands. We hit the Family Islands with our own funds, using our own time from work to be able to go and do it, because
Sacrifice you made.
right, you have to make it.
Yeah.
And so allowing people who have been neglected by the union, or, you know, other Family Islands are always neglected, and so we wanted them to feel as if we're not just coming here for you to support us. We want to address the issues that y'all have going on. And so we have established a rapport with them. And so they have a direct line to me, the president, and anything that's happening on the Family Island, I am able to remedy those problems to the members on the Family Island. And so we have someone there in the likes of Ms. Sarah Bethel Cooper. We have our Secretary General, Mr. Arison Wilson. He's from PHA, SRC in particular. We have Mistress Jacqueline Bethel. She's our Assistant Secretary General, and she is from SRC as well too. We have Mr. Anthony Joaquin. He's our trustee, and he is from BAIC. We have Mr. Miguel Fernanda. He's our trustee. Mr. Miguel Fernanda is from Parliamentary Registration. We have Mrs. Marlene Winder. She's from the Bahamas Gaming Board. She's trustee as well. We have Ms. Shaniqua Demerit. She's our Public Relations Officer, and she's from the Ministry of Works. And so if you look at the cadre of executives that was handpicked, these are persons who are strategically picked from various government and quasi ministries, so that we can be able to target the membership. One may ask, what will this union do for the members of there? Our union dues is the cheapest in terms of $20, and why did I choose $20? I choose $20 because when I look at the salary in which a lot of persons make, a lot of persons are maxed out, okay? So they don't have the money, but what we put into our constitution, as I get money for you through negotiations, a percentage comes towards the union dues, so the union dues is.
That's the best way to do it.
Right, and so we're not in this.
Well, you are progressive.
Yeah,
You're
we're not
progressive.
in this just for we're not in it for the money. We're in it for change. We're in it where workers who come to work, and we're here to work with the government. We want an amicable relationship, and so I believe there's a place for everything, and when I say everything, I'm talking about picketing, rioting, standing up and making noise in public. There's a place and time for that. I believe that effective communication, when you effectively communicate, you don't have to get there. When I get to a table, see, my first mandate is the business of my members. When I'm dealing with my emotions, I already starting off the wrong way. It has nothing to do with me. What is it that I'm going to do for the best interest of my members? I am not moved by insults. I am not moved by someone being cruel or mean to me. I'm not moved by that. What I'm moved by is when you're trying to take something, mistreat and ill-treat, when you're trying to sabotage, fire, do certain things and do not allow natural justice for my members, then I have an issue. So I believe that if I'm at a table and the person that I'm across the table from, and they understand that I have a level of diplomacy and I have a level of intelligence and what I'm asking and seeking for. See, a lot of times people think it's about money, but what I believe in is monetary value. Sometimes the government will say, you know, we ain't have all that money. But what I like is, this is how negotiations work. You may not have physical money, but you have monetary value. And so when I say monetary value, I have members who don't even own a home. And so why are these people coming to work? If they have nothing at the end of the day to say that they've worked and they have a home, at least when you putting up with the nonsense at work and the long hours, You have a house that you can call your own. You don't have to worry about no rent and all of these things. So for me is, okay, let's just say I'm at the negotiation table. And because I can't get it, see, I'm realistic. I'm realistic. I cannot get that for everybody. But let's just say at the table right now, I can say to the government, the reason why a lot of Bahamians aren't able, especially government workers, aren't able to afford a home in this country, the cost of living is extremely high. The down payment the other day, I went to get something from the bank, an additional something, and they said to me, if you could put $50,000 down, and so your payment will be this. Where the average women getting $50,000 from?
Right.
Where they can get it from? The salaries in which they make, when you look at light bill, when you look at gas, when you look at nurseries, when you look at food, the food store, those are necessities. And so by the time it's these people already pay for these things, what are they left to save? And we have to be realistic when we look at a livable wage in this country. We have to be able to do real study to say, okay, you can't say you giving me $6 because that's what you want to give me. It shouldn't be that way. It should be whereas we look at, okay, when it comes to inflations in the country, when it comes to light bill, this, that, we have to take all that in consideration. When we do a percentage, we do a straight across percentage, okay, if you pay this person this amount, can this facilitate this? No, it cannot. So you come up with a livable wage. The ILO came up with a livable wage, and we start to take on a lot. We start to
For the Bahamas, they
yeah,
came up with a livable wage?
we start to adopt because of the Caribbean.
And what is livable wage?
The label, I think it was like $400, $400 a week, to pay someone for 40 hours.
Okay.
And so for me, that's a start. That's a good start for where we're at right now. Okay? So we have to look at that. So if the person isn't making enough money, how can they save? And so for me as a union leader, it's my responsibility to be able to look at things that's viable for my members. It's my responsibility to say to the government, yeah, they always want the money, but I want money, something that could be substantial for my members. That if my members could say, Mr. Mac was able to remove that down payment and I'm able to go into paying, because a lot of these people pay rent. They've been paying rent some 10 years. So what that does, it shows that this person is stable. And so based on stability, they're able to meet whatever the amount is.
Yeah.
And so let them be able to own homes. Let's just say go into our next entity. We can get the percentage off with passports. We get percentage off with Bahamas Air, what you buy. You could various things that the government have in its control, you can get percentage. And so you can use that as a buffer. Not everything is money. And so you can get monetary value. And so that is something. And then another issue.
Well, that's a good way to do it. That's progressive. That's a progressive way of thinking. And you, over the years, I hear union leaders, and you never ever hear them talk in this manner where
you know why?
Let me
tell you why.
It ain't all about money.
Let me tell you why.
Right.
Okay, you ever had an iPhone?
It's an iPhone, isn't it?
Okay, so the iPhone have different generations, right? Generation 1, and move straight along. When you see your call for a certain time frame, a certain dispensation, your knowledge is based on that time. And so what you have today is you have some persons who want to lead, who is for an era that's already passed. So my era is now, and so my progressive thinking is a result of that. So they won't be able to think along the lines that I think because why? They were back then. And so you have some leaders sometimes, when it's time to give up the power, they don't want to give it up. They don't want somebody else, because we have to be able to have even succession plans, even in our country, even in the workplace. We don't have that. Whereas you have a certain time frame to serve. When you serve at your ripe season, you give your country, you give your people the best. But when you ever see when you pick a mango in its right season, tastes succulent. But go eat that rotten mango months later. You can't eat that, you'll get sick from that. And so you have some people who don't want to give up power. It's time for us the Joshua generation now. Moses, mind you, I do not. One thing that I will never do, I'm never disrespectful. The Moses generation, they put things in place for us Joshuas to be able to move the country and various sectors of this country where it needs to be. Then there comes another set after Joshua. But it's our time now. It's our time to move the country, move different industry in an era or in a way, whereas we are progressive. When you don't do that, you put the country back because you're backward thinking people from back then. You need forward and progressive. Progressive is forward. So when my time is up, I have someone to succeed me, someone to take over. I want whoever come after me to be better than me. You know why? We have to move away from egos. We have to move away from, well, my name ain't attached to that. I don't care about no name. What I care about is my country. What I care about is the laborers in this country. I care about putting something in place today. And if somebody tomorrow come, they have something a foundation, and they build from that and make it even better, and we evolve as a country. But when I want to stay here, only me one can run this, only me one can do this. What? He was saying, it's time to give up power, and some people don't want to give up power, and that's the problem. Yes, and so with us as a union, some of the things that we wish to do, I'll list some of the things because I want the members.
Go ahead, listen, man. Listen, I'm telling you, I know this the first show in 14 years. I ain't do much talking. Okay. Go ahead.
So we wish to work amicably, like I said earlier, with the Bahamas government to address and identify unknown areas of deficiencies and create policies to eradicate them. And what do I mean by this? If you and her, right, identify some areas in here, and let's just say I at the bottom. There are some things, and y'all two at the top. There are some things that you two will be able to identify. But me, there are some things y'all would never know. The only way you'll know it is when I come to the table. So what this union represents for the government, for the labor movement in this country is, we have been the people who, when you look at the Industrial Relations Act, I took the Employment Act because I normally travel with them. When you look at the Employment Act, when you look at general orders, we are the recipients in terms of the negative part of it, how we've suffered, how we've been mistreated, how we've been abused. We represent that. We are able to say, if you do it this way, if you do it that way, we bring a different spin. We also bring solutions. And so people like us, we should be the people also at the table, giving and saying, yes, I understand that you all want to raise salaries and everything, but we want to work in environments where we can grow. And when I speak about grow, we need career paths. We need real career paths to know, okay, this is a career for me. I want to know within the next 2 years, what do I need to do to move to the next level? What we have been seeing in public service and in quasi-government. I spoke with a member today who has been performing, training other people. When you're picked to train, that means you know something. Management is not going to pick someone who is inexperienced to train someone who's new on the job. What we've been seeing is persons being on the job for years, receive no promotion. And there's not a reason, because in our industrial agreements, what we have been seeing is breaches in these industrial agreements. We want to put penalties in our industrial agreements, because when there isn't no penalties, that's like the law. If you could run the red light, not be run the red light all day. So the penalties prevent you from doing it because you don't want to pay the amount to the courts, or you don't even want to be inundated by having to even go to the courts. And so we need industrial agreements that the government hold our feet to the fire and we hold the government feet to the fire with penalties, financial penalties in these industrial agreements. That's the only way they're going to work, okay? We have something called assessment. And what assessment does is you have government workers that receive increments. And so increments is basically a small amount in which, based on performance, increment isn't something that you just automatically get. Increment is done in such a way where you set a system. This is the system that we propose in all of our industrial agreements. I want to say, but someone keep telling me you're going to be giving out all of the good stuff, and before you.
Oh, I mean, you run a union,
yeah,
and you need to give out the good stuff so person can understand that you all are well taught.
Let me give it to you then. Okay, so this is how it works. And like I said, preparation produces results. And so the saying, he who fails to prepare, he who fails to plan, plans to fail.
Right.
And so for me, everything was well thought out. Everything was well put together because I understand the end results of which we want to see. So let's just say you're doing an assessment. An assessment should work this way, because sometimes assessments can be biased. An assessment can be whereas your supervisor dislike you. And I always say we operating when you're not properly trained as a manager in terms of having the the tools to manage effectively.
Anyway.
When you don't have the tools to manage effectively, you manage from your emotions. And so what ended up happening is people have unfavorable assessments. Well, how do we mitigate this? We mitigate this by, at the beginning of the year, you sit with the employee. You would tell the employee, okay, these are your high points and these are the areas in which you need to work on. The company will provide training in this area. Once you would have satisfied us, then we'll meet again. And this is a level of coaching. We'll meet again and then we'll see if you pulled your socks up, and as a result of that, then you'll be able to get your full points for your increment. We also put something in place whereas after these steps would have been followed and followed correctly, because they'll be thoroughly followed by documentation to showing that these steps are followed. The supervisor now, what happens to the supervisor? If you still go ahead in your emotions and feelings and give this person a bad grade, it reflects on you with your increment. Because if your subordinate is not performing, you ain't doing something right. So there should be some penalties on the supervisor as well. So we put something like that in place to mitigate against people being biased and giving people unfavorable assessments, so you're able to get your increment as it relates to that.
That's a great idea. But I think our final commercial break. This is Primetime with Independent Thinker. If you want to be a part of the conversation, or you're just sitting back and listening and enjoying the information, 326-8255, 326-8255, 322-5477, 322-5477. In studio with me tonight is Latonya Symonette, Madam President of the Bahamas Public Sector and Health Professionals Union. She's in the chair. And listen, she gave you the information. If you ain't satisfied yet about changing your union, well, you gotta be family to the president of that particular union. Because boy, some things need to change in this country, and it must start with you. It ain't gonna happen if you are not a part of it. And be a part of the change, because it's happening all around in every sector. Things must change. We've been taking for a ride for too long. This is Prime Time. We take our final commercial break, and when we come back, we continue the conversation and wrap up. Ms. Latonya Symonette from the Bahamas Public Sector and Health Professionals Union in studio, 1197. Prime Time. After the break.
Cancer. It's a word no one wants to hear. But at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we hear it every day. It's a word we've dedicated our lives to overcoming by changing the way patients are treated. And now we're part of City of Hope, which is one of the nation's top 10 cancer hospitals. Together, we'll combine leading-edge clinical research with precision cancer treatment, so we can be there when you need us most. So when you hear the word cancer, there's another word that should come to mind. Hope. Call now.
You've dreamt it. You've worked hard for it. And now you've got it. You deserve to enjoy the fruits of your labor and know that you're covered in case of a disaster, like an unexpected fire or a vehicular collision. At Magic Insurances, we focus on settling your claims quickly and fairly so you can get back to enjoying your life. Magic Insurances. Fast, fair, and always there.
This is Prime Time with Independent Thinker. My name is Marlon Owen Johnson, aka Independent Thinker. Listen, if you ain't satisfied with the union you're in, you have a new kid on the block. Brand new kid on the block. BPS AHPU, the Bahamas. They're on foot. Okay, board light up. Prime Time with Independent Thinker.
Independent Thinker, how you doing?
You're live.
Okay, so Independent Thinker, good day and good evening to you again.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask you guys a question in reference to, I saw in the papers lately where they were saying that they're going to change the work hours to 4 days.
Right, you're right. I seen that too. I saw it too.
You saw that?
Yeah, I saw it. I was trying to get accent, but that's right after this. Baby, you go ahead. You live.
Yeah, let me tell you the problem that I have with that. I don't know who came up with that, but I heard that the Stanley Chance was speaking in reference to it, right?
Right.
And he said that the only way that could happen If this, you work 10 hours a day, and you accumulate 40 hours within 4 days rather than 5 days, but you cannot charge the employer overtime. That's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. That's bringing a person into slavery undercover.
No, but he talking fool. No, listen. The world has accepted that 8 hours per day is a reasonable time for a human to work, right? And it is accepted worldwide, right? It's a norm. Like red light and green light, every road you see around the world, China, Russia, all in the red light and green light, because it's accepted. Listen to me. The 4-day work week is possible, you know. But then, you know, what you have to do is put persons, you get paid by the hour. You put people by the hour and they only work 4 days if they want to, and you can't force them to work pay them for the 4 days. How much hours they work? I mean, you can't force an employer to pay an employee for 40 hours when they're only working 4 days and only working 8 hours a day. Because that ain't 40 hours. That wouldn't be fair. That wouldn't be fair because then you're working less time, and that's like an automatic raise with less hours. You know, I mean, you're talking fool, man.
But that's it. Okay, when they said that, I thought when they were saying that they were going to give employees raise, I thought they mean that they would shorten the work week, right?
Right.
4 days, and let it still total the 40 hours for those 4 days.
But how you can do that?
I still say them the same time.
No, you can't do that.
No, listen to me.
Yeah.
Okay, let me say that. Sandy John, he was saying that you could wait 10 hours and accumulate 40 hours within 4 days.
No, that's...
Listen to that. Now, you would not be entitled to time and a half or overtime because you'd be over your 8 hours. And now, they was also saying that, don't forget, you trying to make that mandatory now that a person cannot work 8 hours no longer to be a full day's work. It has to be 10 hours, which I feel like that is very unfair.
No,
I think that anybody came up with that idea, that is totally ridiculous.
But a caller...
You can't force a person into more labor and don't expect to pay them time and a half.
No, but then you... No, but the government...
I will hear you, union person. Let us know who came up with that idea because if they agree with that.
No, but she might agree with that, but she'll tell you what her view and her union, have you all discussed that yet?
My view on that is, there was various, from the ILO, there were various conventions, and what they were saying with that, you have to understand, in order to fully understand where it came from and why it's being brought up, we have to look at the full scope. And they were saying that if you look at humanity today, over the years, centuries, humanity has dwindled down into what we could have, our forefathers could have worked in the sun and do this. When you look at climate change and when you look at the conditions in terms of weather and everything, they were talking about, and the mental state of people today, they were saying what was happening is people are, the 8 hours, it was too much on people. The full 40 week, going to work 5 days a week was too much. And so they were trying to come to a medium. They were trying to say, okay, if you're saying the 2 days off, because watch this, even though it worked back then, and when you take it about progressive is, because it worked then, let's look at ways to improve it today. And so it's just a way to improve it in terms of less stress on the people. We're looking at work-life balance. We're looking at, in our country, the Bahamas in particular, if you look at the high crime rate is a direct result of the breakdown of the family structure in our country. What happens in our country? You have a lot of single parents, or you have a lot of parents that is even married people going to work, working to maintain a particular lifestyle. No one is home with the children. No one is home there to guide the children, and so everybody's to work. And so they're trying to come up with a way, avenue, whereas to reduce what we see that's going on, the negative pattern with the family structure, they're trying to bring something back to say, okay, we feel as if the mommy got a daddy home more with the children, we can actually shift this thing. We could actually, because the crime that we see today is not just
we think it's called. Yeah. I think it's called. Primetime, anybody? Go ahead, caller.
Good night. First of all, let me congratulate you. From the years I've been in the union, well, I've worked 25 years, and I've been a part of the union. And for the years I've worked, I've never heard a union representative spoke like this. This is the first time I hear one that wasn't even interested in the salary. Because as a civil servant, I wouldn't say what ministry I work in, but as a civil servant, when I look at the portfolio that you brought forward, it's a good one. And I must encourage you, I'm almost out of the system, so I must encourage you to keep pushing and keep pushing until you get it done.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
if God didn't want you to be there, you wouldn't have been there.
Yes, ma'am.
You're there, so you're there for a purpose.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what I want to see being implemented, because like you say, these general orders that they have in place, some of these, they look like ancient general orders, and there's no, what's the word I should say? There's no one who is being accountable for these general orders. Because working in the system, I've seen people being treated as such.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
yes.
first example is, what happens to the general orders if I am being hired, right? Okay, you have something in the system, in there where after you hired me 6 months to a year, I should become permanent.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the accountability for that? There's no reason for a person to be on that job, as a civil servant to be on that job. I'm seeing people in the system 20 years. Some persons work 30-something years, 30-plus years, and going home regular weekly pay. That shouldn't be.
That's right.
If something has to be put in place for those situations like that, that is, I think, I don't care if that, we have, 12 months in the year, 360 days, nobody is perfect. Every month, sometimes out of the year, things are going to happen where people can't make it out to work. Yes, they say sick days, call-in days, but sometimes that is not sufficient for some person, okay? But at least, whatever happening, something in their control, and they return to work, the person's still coming to work. If that person is still coming on that job after 10 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, it means that the person still wants their job. They're interested in their job. There's no way you shouldn't make the person permanent. There's no way that person should still be coming on the job, still working after 15 years, 17, 20 years, and still not permanent. That's not fair.
And you're correct. 326-8255, 326-8255, 322-5477. I want to be a part of the conversation in a few minutes that we have. The show I have in studio with me, Miss Latonya. No, I didn't pronounce it right. I will give it a correct name. Latonya Symonette. I don't want to pronounce the name wrong. I'm the president of the Bahamas Public Sector and Health Professionals Union. She's in chair with me this evening. Boy, look, I gotta bring you back. Because
Can we just say some stuff first?
Go ahead.
Before we end.
No, we ain't it.
Oh,
we guess I got about 50 more minutes. But
okay.
I said I have to bring you back so you continue to disseminate the information and what all the union have to offer, what the benefits are, and your goals, your intentions, and things like that, the progression that's happening in the union. Because some of the ideas have never been said. They've been being talked about in your circle, but it hasn't been out in the public about some of these things that you're planning. I like the forward thinking. I like the progressive movement. I tell you, Bahamians need to understand that we don't have to settle for mediocrity in this country. We don't have to. If we stand up and numbers is, well, listen, numbers is do the thing for politicians. I might still tell you.
Well,
And I'll give you.
Marlon, if numbers do the thing for politicians, they
Right.
have to be looking at us, because let me tell you something.
You're good.
When I say, when we go on our membership drive, I have not went anywhere and no one turned us down. Everywhere I go, stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of applications for our union. And like I said earlier, there's a process for it, but we have a lot of members, and we believe that when you have presence, and that's our thing, building presence, when you have presence, you can actually sit at the table. And when you sit at the table, you can bring change. But until you have those numbers, and those numbers are achieved by the way we represent. Members or anybody don't leave good representation.
No.
They leave poor representation. And so what Mr. Ferguson and others would have done for me, they treated the people so bad that when I came, all I needed to come with was a sincere heart, showing the people that I am them and I will work for them and working for them. And I have members who was go to other ministries working for me, working for the union and bringing in membership. So it should tell you today when I traveled through the airport, if you saw the respect, I had a member pay for they saw me to the counter. No, Madam President, we can pay for that. When you do right by people, the favor that comes attached to your life, you could walk around with an empty wallet.
Right.
Because the people can make sure you're okay. They will stand up for you when you're doing what is right. I don't believe I better than my members. My members, them call me, I answer. You know, sometimes people get power and people calling them, they don't want, I answer. I be up on the phone in the nighttime with them, because why? They matter. And I gotta remember how these people them were treated over the years. And so because of that, it's almost like I have to put kitten gloves on. Because I understand when they act a particular way, I don't get angry. I don't go be combative. I come mellow and I talk to them and I let them know I understand what it is and I'm gonna fix it for you. You understand? So
Yeah.
it's those things. So go ahead.
Primetime and Independent, go ahead, you live. Hello? He wasn't even making too long, I was talking too long. Listen, I'm a true believer now. I really understand. I try to get a good understanding of how union, I get a good understand how union functions now based on the
But Marlon,
definition.
watch this. You know why unions are important, Marlon? They are important because if you're not gonna tender your resignation and leave your employee, you know why you're in the union? Management is there for the government. They're not, when people go to HR and thinking HR is their friend, HR is not. HR is doing what is for the best interest of the government. If it's a government entity or it's private, it's for the owners. And so you need a union that can represent your best interest. You need someone who's going to be at the table to say, you know what? No, the law states this, because I've watched in many instances where a lot of employers, they don't understand the law. They don't have learned people in their organization. And if they do in fact have an attorney, the attorney doesn't really understand the interpretation of the law. I've watched it, I've seen it. But if you have someone who is a union president and inside they're representing the people, they're able to guide them. They're able to, with our union, we do not promote slack workers, so to say the quote slack workers. We allow our members to understand, I am not going to represent you if you ain't coming to work and you want to abuse the system. I'm not going to do that. I represent people who want to work, and I represent people whereas the government say, okay, we need you to do this. We're going to make sure you get fair wages. And one of the things that inside this platform is we will negotiate higher wages commensurate with current job requirements, meaning that you would look at, for example, in the Bahamas, like PHA nurses, lobotomists, various technicians in the various fields, pharmaceutical people that we represent, right? Mm-hmm. We would watch where people would go to school, go off to college and pay these large amounts for these degrees. And then the government wants to tell the people we can give you $50 to income and $100. What? No, we need salaries that are
Listen. Yeah, it take too long. And I tell you, go ahead.
We need salaries. If I went to the university in Florida International University and I have a master's degree, you have to look at what is paid for that internationally. Because when they bring in the expat who coming in, most of the time we Bahamian workers, we could do the job better than them. You know the problem is in this country? why they always say Bahamians don't work. No. You can't expect someone who come from an impoverished country. You have some people work in this country from Nicaragua and them different countries. If you look at how much them people get paid a day and they come here, you could afford to give them $1 or $2. You can't give that to a Bahamian because a Bahamian live here in the Bahamas. We enjoy certain things as a set of people. We've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. And so you cannot bring a Bahamian on your job with a master's degree and you want to pay them as if you're paying someone who don't even have a high school diploma.
The duty union as a whole has a plan to deal with the lengthy, continuously stayed foreigners in this country. For example, when the Free National Movement was in power between 2007 and 2012, the Minister of Immigration, I remember him vividly, who bragged that the government had made some $40 million from work permit. And plenty of Bahamians in this country, it appears that we always get the low-key, low-end jobs. But foreigners that come here and get the best job, be paid for the kids to go to school, all kind of things, while Bahamians who more qualified than them, they say, oh, you too qualified, you overqualified, and they don't give them the job. But foreigners in this country, can the union as a body address where our Immigration Act be where the maximum you could work in the country as a foreigner, and you must train during your, what, if you all ever agree that 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, that you must have persons train under you while you benefit under the Immigration Act. Failure to do so, your work permit will be terminated, and you must leave, wait 11 months or 10 months and visit your country for 2 months or 1 month or whatever. I mean, so that Bahamians can start now be encouraged to educate themselves, to empower themselves, because jobs will be available. I mean, the foreigners having a ball for years in this country.
Marlon, let me tell you what this. Let me tell you what I've been playing around in my mind with. We first, as a country, we have to put on the table in terms of who we want to be as a people, what we want to produce. And in order to do that, we have to examine what it is that we have in place right now. How does it benefit our people? We have to look at our educational system. We have an educational system that is outdated in terms of it breeds laborers. We need a system whereas, okay, if we want to become viable, sustainable, do we have economists? Do we have people who are tech savvy in terms of technology? Do we have persons in terms of agriculture and understand that the Bahamas, we can't feed ourselves. What do we export out of our country? And so we have to have honest conversations, and we have to be able to say, okay, if our education system is not producing the quality of people that we go out the country and look for, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to places like Singapore. We're going to go to these countries whereas the tech people who are able to create various technologies. We're going to bring in someone who can study our natural landscape, what our country can naturally produce, and what from this natural thing can actually become a product that the Bahamas can trade and it's viable on an international level. Bring those people in. Teach in the country. Let the people them teach the Bahamian people how to do these things. When you ready teach the Bahamian people, then send people back. Then you have me who they really learn the skill. I teaching Marlon teaching her. And so what you do now is you have a progressive country whereas your people are able in agriculture, we are able to feed ourselves, technology, we are able to ensure that whatever tech savvy features is needed, we are able to do that. So we don't have to be bringing in these people from the outside. We have to have these type of conversations. If we don't do that, we're going to be a country whereas if you look at other Caribbean countries where their dollar is the value, their dollar carry no weight. We have a tourism product, and what we've been doing over the years is speaking this one tourism product. Why don't we have ministers who their portfolio will be okay? Your responsibility is the natural resources. Let's bring in someone, like I said earlier, to see what we have. Okay, this is what we can produce. okay, train Bahamians to be able to do this. Let's open up manufacturers. We have a whole sea life out there. Study the waters. What can we produce every month that consistently this will be in this season, that will be in that season. Can these things? Look at different industries, creating different industries. You can employ your people in those industries. Bahamians can become owners in those industries. And once we are able to self-sustain, we can demand what it is, what we want as a country. But we're not doing that.
I'll tell you this. For years, I mean, we flat all the time, but for years, Bahamians in this country, I mean, from talk show to talk show, mentioned that we need to diversify the economy. And the question was put to the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Ingram, if I remember my mind served me correctly, from the same station on the Churchill building steps. And when I think there was a session in 2008, and the question was put to him, asking him, is it a good time to diversify the Bahamas? And he said, diversify what? We are a country of three pillars: tourism, agriculture, and finance. But maybe he had forgotten that in 2002, when the Free National Movement was in power, they had almost decimated the financial sector. When the 12 bills was faxed from Washington, and it was a little argument inside the House of Assembly between the former leader of government business, the Honorable Allingen, S.P.B. Allen, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs at the time was Janet Boswick. When she said that we has this, and he said, no, we has not, no, and they had and from then, persons being saying, listen, and I always say on this show, that I feel that the Bahamian people are taking advantage from time to time, because tourism of our number one industries, and foreign countries whose citizens come to this country, they continuously put out these travel advisory to hold the Bahamian people hostage. And I feel that time has come that we must accept and try to find the easiest, cheapest way to implement the same idea what you said just now. Diversification is very important. And we can start with the salt.
Yeah.
The whole world uses salt. Inagua is a perfect place that they just put the water inside the pond, and when it dry up from that hot sun and the location